This is a good beat. Why aren't you dancing?
Dancing is forbidden. 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 Dancing is forbidden.
Yoo-hoo, running crew, welcome to Dancing is Forbidden, an Aqua Teen Hunger Force exploration. I am Ronnie, and on this podcast, we were supposed to be talking about the Moon and Night AquaDonk Side Piece called Moonmaster 9 Beware the Gorgotron, but we had a happy accident. I reached out to Nick Gibbons, who plays the live-action guy Samuel of the Cosmos in the short, for what was supposed to be a quick chat that I was going to throw onto my coverage of that short. Well, our conversation went on longer than I anticipated, and while editing it, I realized this deserved to just be its own podcast episode. Before I go further, I gotta tell you that you can find Nick on Twitter at Nick Gibbons and on Instagram at Nick Gibbons. If you like something in this conversation, let him know. And if you want to tell him how you disagree with him about his Last of Us 2 thoughts, I don't think he wants to hear it. To give you some background information on Nick, he is credited as a producer, editor, and actor on Aqua Teen, but he's also worked on a bunch of other stuff for Adult Swim. I'm talking Squidbillies, Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, Too Many Cooks, and just tons of other Adult Swim content. Beyond that, he has his own YouTube channel where he uploads all sorts of stuff. Additionally, Nick co-hosts the parenting advice podcast called Goat Dads, which I've mentioned on this show before. It's one of my favorite podcasts. Dana Snyder, Dave Willis, Mike Schatz, plenty of Aqua Teen people have been on it. Give it a listen. Anyways, I reached out to Nick because, as I said, he plays the streamer in the Moon and Night AquaDonk, but he has also spoofed streamers in his other work as well. Nick teamed up with Chris Casper Kelly for one of my favorite Adult Swim videos, Final Deployment 4 Queen Battle Walkthrough. On his own time, Nick did a streamer spoof video called ThundaClap. You can see both these videos on YouTube, links in the show notes, of course. We do reference these in our interview, so I definitely suggest checking them out, but if you're not able to, don't worry because we talk about all sorts of other stuff too, and I try and give you some information on those videos as well. Alongside behind-the-scenes Aqua Teen info, Nick and I talk about his history as an Aqua Teen fan, Nick's thoughts on Shake Like Me being taken off streaming services because he edited that episode, and we even get a glimpse of what it's like working on Aqua Teen while also having little kids. Another topic discussed is the frustration, jealousy, as well as reward that comes along with being a content creator. Relating to that, in this episode, I kind of blindside Nick with the story about how my mom passed away a few months back, and I initially didn't plan to include that bit in this episode. It felt maybe kind of exploitative to me, but Nick gives a really great answer, so I decided to keep that part in. It felt kind of worth it, so just know I realized that. Please don't read it that way, that I'm trying to, exploit his reaction, because he just gives such an awesome response. So, with all of that out of the way, please enjoy my conversation with Nick Gibbons, editor on Moonmaster 9 Beware the Gorgotron, as well as leading man Samuel of the Cosmos. So to get into this AquaDonk, I feel like the best question to ask you to get going is, how did you get involved as an actor in the AquaDonk Side Piece?
All the side pieces were done during COVID lockdown. So we were all in our houses editing them, and it was fun to jump back into Aqua Teen because it'd been a while. It'd been a hot minute since we'd done any of them. Usually the editors on an Aqua Teen are impartial directors of the episode, because we generally, when we were making the show, we would put together an animatic on our own, which is like an animated sort of storyboard. First, we'd cut the radio play, and we get it to a point where we're like, yeah, that's pretty close. With sound effects and the voice actors and stuff. And then we would start just laying in scenes, like putting backgrounds in and then pulling in characters and moving them around, puppeteering them around. So we will make these, first passes on it, and then we'll get notes and refine it. So I loved doing the Aqua Teen shows because it was such it gave you such creative freedom and control, and it was you really got to shine as a creator, and so it's just a lot of fun to work on that show. So I was happy to do these again. And I think I got three or four of the AquaDonks to do. But then this one came along, and I was reading the script, and I saw that they were going to use a live action person for the guy. And we had been doing as seeing on Adult Swim out of my little office here in my house for a while. So I had all these cameras, these really nice cameras, and I had a green screen set up already and had lights. And I'm like, well, I'll just do it as a temp thing. And I sent it in, and it's so funny because the first pass I was very animated and sort of actorly. I acted it out better, but that's not what they wanted. They directed me to bring it way down, and I was like, that's fine. It's because it's inevitably what they want to happen with the show. But I put myself in it, and I kept giving them passes on it, and they would give me notes. And at one point, they were just like, "Oh, you got the part."
Oh, wow.
And I think it was just I think it's at that point, it was just easier because no one could go anywhere or do anything. That was like when it was hardcore. So it would have been really tough to get an actor and set up a studio. So it was more out of convenience, I think. But also, I'm awesome. So how could they not put me in it?
That's the interesting thing with you, at least compared to the other editors that I'm really familiar with, like Jay and Ned, is that you do a lot of like performance as opposed to those guys really don't. So I think that's kind of the cool thing about having you on board, is that you're able to jump in more comfortably really and take those kinds of roles, which kind of I think elevates it because you're so familiar with the work.
Yeah. I'm working with those guys for so many years. You just you pick up all the shorthand of everything, and you're able to sort of go in and just, you kind of know what they want. It's so funny because especially, I worked on Your Pretty Face too, which is live action, but like so often I would cut a scene and they would come in and, give their swings, and we would recut it and do this and that. And I'd say not that I'm full of myself or anything, but 60% of the time we would go back to the original way that I had cut it. They're like, just go back to the way you had it. That's probably the best way. But and that, that's a good feeling too, because it makes you feel like what you're doing is you kind of know what you're doing, because a lot of times you don't have that feeling in life, really,
right?
Too. So yeah, there's that. But yeah.
Okay, so. Because my assumption, I know that Matt and Dave, they write the episodes, but I was like, I didn't know maybe if you had a hand in writing it because of the streamer element, because I really saw that coming from you. So it's surprising for me to hear that they already had that in line. They wanted it to be a streamer spoof, and then you kind of stepped in. That's not what I expected at all.
Yeah. They wrote everything. They write everything. They're very sort of they're not. I wouldn't say precious about what they write, but they do. Write everything, and they rewrite everything. More often than not, the script on an episode of Aqua Teen that they originally give you is not what you end up with at the end, because they'll come in. We have the luxury of they'll watch it and like, this isn't working, and they can rewrite new not lyrics. I guess lyrics are the words to a show. The show lyrics, the dialogue is what I was trying to say. But they'll so often they would rewrite dialogue, write new stuff, and just get it to where they wanted it, because all the guys were readily available to grab, and Dave did most of the voices, so it wasn't hard to get him to come in and reread stuff. So the script would change a lot, and same with Squidbillies, it would really change quite a lot from start to finish. So there was a lot of that going on, but I really didn't. I didn't do a lot of improv on that, or sort of input any of my any jokes I may have put in is visually just with it was more for the Moonanites. I put more gags in with the Moonanites visually than I did verbally with the actual live action guy that I played. So
that's the interesting thing, and kind of what I touched on earlier, is that you also edited on the episode as well. So that's kind of cool that you were the actor and the editor. So you not only had input on your role as an actor, but also what the Moonanites were doing as well, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of actors would love to be able to sit in and to take what they thought was the best takes and what they thought was the best reads of lines and stuff. But I actually had the privilege to do that. But obviously, I would send it in, and they would be like, "Oh, do you say it different?" They would want to listen to the takes. It's funny because they did direct me when I actually recorded the final version of how they wanted it. They were on speakerphone. Both of them were on my phone, and they were listening to me like in a record session, like if because Dana's in California, so whenever they record him, it's just they just hear his voice, they can't see him. So it was the same for this. They were just on my phone and they were listening to me read the lines. And after I was done, they were like, well, try it more like, do this more like that or hit this like this. So they were able to direct me in the direction that they wanted to go. And that too made it easier in editing because I could remember what they wanted, what they said they wanted and sort of put that into the show. So it kind of was a shorthand for the editing session.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if working on this episode, if you guys do get picked up for more Aqua Teen episodes, if they'll make Dana and Carrie start editing as well, so that they have full coverage like they got with you on this one.
You don't want Dana editing anything because it would quickly become the Dana Show, starring Dana, created by Dana.
11 minutes of Shake.
Exactly. It would just be Shake. The show would change its name to Shake Shack, and it would be first we'd get sued by Shake Shack, but then it would be him all the time. And trust me, you don't want that. It's too much Shake is too much.
So the name Samuel of the Cosmos, I take it that was already in line before you were an actor on the project.
Yeah, that was in the script. That was what Matt and Dave came up with that. So
gotcha.
That was my name. I honestly don't even remember if I realized that was his name until I started editing it and had to put it like at the bottom of the screen. I had to look back at the script and say, what's this guy's name? I was like, oh, that's his name. Okay. So yeah, it didn't even occur to me that he had a name until I was finishing out the final edit. I was like, oh, I need to put his name at the bottom or whatever. So
right. At the beginning of that short, we see it's like a mock YouTube page. That's how it starts. It's a mock YouTube page. There's like thumbnails on the side, and then there's like the little video, and then eventually it becomes full screen. And when I first watched the short, I didn't really pay attention to that. But when I really sat down and like analyzed it for this conversation, there's really a lot of information on that screen. Did you put that together? Did you put that mock? It's called ViewTub. Did you put that image together?
I did. I put the image together. I can't, but now I got to go. I haven't watched it in a while. Now I got to go watch and see if the sort of the stuff I put for the videos that you'd already watched or whatever are on the side. I can't remember now because I am old and my brain doesn't work.
I can tell you because those really set a tone for the short that I didn't pick up on my first time watching, because when I first watched it anyways, I'm like, oh, Samuel of the Cosmos, he's some YouTuber and he's playing a shitty game. That's kind of it. But if you look at the sidebar, most of, if not all of his channel is about the Moonmaster games, and he seems to be really deep into it. Like, it's all Moonmaster videos of all because this is the 9th one, so he's done like lore videos and all sorts of stuff. So that kind of makes the short kind of sad, because this is clearly somebody who loves this franchise, and then the new game fucking sucks when it comes out, and it's just dog shit. And it put it in this interesting tone. Did you intend that when you made those little videos and stuff? Do you remember?
I'm gonna say yes because but I don't think I did. But that's great. Here's the thing. I went to art school. You couldn't guess, but yeah, I went to art school. We had a painting class, and I would do paintings, and I just painted weird stuff that had no meaning really to me. I would think of something funny and then paint it. I thought, oh, this is a funny image or funny juxtaposition of objects, and I would meld them together just to do these weird paintings. And when we would have every time you finish one, the class would get together and they would critique your work and sort of say what they thought it was about or what. And I learned real quick, if you wanted to get lots of good grades, is just to agree with what everyone said and said, yeah, that's exactly what I meant that to be. You nailed it. That's great. Way to go. So yeah, I didn't think of it in that context, but that is great that you did. I'm glad that you saw that. And honestly, I may look back at it and realize, oh, I didn't do any of the side stuff. It may have been one of the animators that sort of put that in. So they may have put in their, that may have been their aim or their thought behind it. So somebody thought of it. I don't think it was me.
I guess my question is for you, because you played Samuel of the Cosmos, and he is playing this game that I assume breaks his heart because it's so shitty. Have you experienced this in real life? Is there a franchise, like a gaming franchise, that you used to love and now it just sucks?
Oh man, you're gonna get equal parts hate responses and love responses to my answer, because there is definitely one that sticks out big time in my brain, because I loved the first game so much, and then they released this sequel, and it was just utter dog shit, story wise, character wise. They just fucked everything up, and I have gone to Twitter and bitched about it and just been, lambasted from people like, well, you're just whatever, blah blah blah. I don't know what these nerds are saying, but they didn't like my distaste for their franchise. But yeah, the Last of Us.
Oh, okay, sure.
This sequel just, if I could have took a dump on that disc after I played it and resold it to somebody for twice as much, I would have done that gladly. But I hated that game. I will say it's a beautiful game. The gameplay is amazing. There's some fantastic sequences in it, but as a writer and an editor, the story and the character development and what they did to these beloved characters was so tone deaf and so bad that I couldn't get over it. I couldn't get past that. So any amount of amazing gameplay was out the window, because just the director and writer of it just fucked it up so bad. Anyway, so that's the one. Yeah.
Well, it's been good talking to you, Nick. I'll see you later. No, I'm kidding. I've played a little bit of the first one. I have my friend's PlayStation right here because I don't have a PlayStation. He lent it to me with the Last of Us games because he's like, you got to play these. And I've been playing through the first one a little bit, and I really liked it, but I haven't gotten to the second one yet, so I have no opinion on it either way. But it's interesting because I know a lot of people liked the second one, so it's kind of cool to hear your take on it.
Yeah, and it's purely a story driven, character driven reaction to it all. I just didn't like. I won't spoil it for you because you haven't played it yet, but in the first 5 minutes, everybody gets blown up, and you just play as a mushroom for the entire game, and Mario is chasing you around. Yeah,
I understand where you're coming from. That sounds like they just kind of ruined it. I'm surprised the reviews were so good.
I couldn't believe they didn't get sued by Nintendo. I mean, they put Mario in it, and you're playing as a Goomba or as a mushroom, whatever they're called, and he's just chasing you through this dystopian wasteland.
Well, now that actually makes me want to beat the first one so I can get onto that second one, because that sounds more my speed a little bit.
Well, I'll let you be the judge. Everyone that has their opinion, and so I'll let you have yours.
All right. So one little last comment on that intro screen, that view tub screen, as it's called, is because there are view counts on all the videos. And Samuel of the Cosmos, his most popular video is the Moonmaster 9 video, which I think is sad because he's just like, this game fucking sucks. And that has the most views. But then he has these like lore videos and these deep dive videos that don't have as many views. But then it's just him like, fuck this game, man. And I guess that's the popular one. You never really know what's going to blow up, I guess.
Yeah, you never do. I've tried diligently. I did pretty good at YouTube when it first came out, of course, before they monetized it. Mm-hmm. Now I can't get more than 40 views on anything on YouTube. I call YouTube for me the graveyard. If I want to bury a film and let no one ever see it again, I just put it up on YouTube. It's a sad state of affairs. So I can sympathize with Samuel for sure, or Samus. What's his name? Oh, no,
it's Samuel. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it stands to reason that the one video that he's getting embarrassed and shamed by is the one that gets the most views. If you're, that's just the insult to injury right there. That's how things usually work out.
Right. Yeah.
I'm giving you life lessons in this interview. I don't know if they're thinly veiled.
No, I totally understand. I'm like, because I have a YouTube channel for this podcast, and I'm like, oh, here's an interview with some big fucking guy who worked on the show, and that's like 100 views. And I'm like, here's me just talking about an episode, and it's like thousands of views. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah. It makes us. I did during the COVID times. I did a talk show. I thought it was genius, and I wanted to do more, but it was more work than than I wanted to put into it for the amount of views I got. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm buddies with some pretty famous actors, and I would have them on, and it wouldn't get any more views than any of the other ones. Like it did nothing, and I'm just like, this is so weird.
Yeah, it's
that how that works. But yeah.
Really quickly, for anyone who hasn't seen the talk show you were doing, it's the funniest thing because you have like a dummy or like, kind of like a mannequin body, and then you have like an iPad as the head, and then you have your guest on Zoom or whatever on the iPad, and you're like talking to them.
It was safe. It's the safest way to interview somebody. You won't get any deadly diseases that way.
Something else I noticed was there's a website listed on the short. It is samcosmosofficial.com, and I noticed that domain is claimed. It was claimed on March 16th of this year. Did you claim that, or is that somebody at Adult Swim?
No. I'm gonna do a shout out to Matt, the guy that runs the one of the production guys. I'm assuming that his poor ass had to do that, or maybe he relegated it to an intern at the time. But yeah, any time they put anything like that up, they have to buy the domain. We've done some stuff on Your Pretty Face where they didn't do it. They didn't be at the domain, and they didn't even check on it, and it was already taken by somebody. So that causes like tons of issues. So yeah, before anything gets cleared to go anywhere, we've got to own all the domains, and I'm sure there's nothing up there.
There's not. Yeah, it doesn't lead to anything, but it's just because I always try and steal those whenever I see them on like the show. I'm like, oh, I'll direct that to my podcast, and of course it was taken, so it was a no-go.
Yeah, I gotta correct myself. Matt Foster. I didn't say his last name. There are so many Matts at Adult Swim that it's like a ball pit, but instead of balls, it's mats, and you just jump in it and you can float on them for a while. It's fun.
If you don't know somebody's name, you just call them Matt, and there's a 50-50 shot that you're right.
100%.
Something interesting about the Moonmaster 9 AquaDonk side piece is there's a connection to Plantasm, the upcoming film. I have not seen the film yet, but it has been discussed that there is an interactive element by means of, I take it, the Moonanites texting you. And that's surprisingly in a similar way to how they are texting Samuel of the Cosmos in the shorts.
Yes.
And AquaDonk side piece, you guys started that first before the film, right?
Yeah, they did. We did those first. It was kind of, I'm trying to remember if the film was going at the same time. I don't think it was. I think those came first in the movie. I think they were writing the movie as we were editing the side pieces. And the movie came pretty quickly after the side pieces were done. But yeah, the texting thing is crazy. And they were just at New York Comic Con talking about it. And apparently, from my understanding, and I haven't talked to Dave directly about this, but I think he was saying that the script for the texting thing was so long, that they were like, "You can't." They said, "We can't do this. We can't. We cannot do this." So they had to like strip it down to its bare, essentials. But yeah, you're prompted at the beginning of the movie, spoiler alert, to text something to the Moonanites.
Mm-hmm.
And then throughout the movie, it's kind of like syncing up Dark Side of the Moon to
Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, yeah. So if you watch, you have to keep watching the movie because they're sort of timed to come out. I think roll out like at certain points in the movie that you're watching it, and it's annoying but also funny. And I don't think anyone's done that. I've never seen anything like that before. So yeah, the movie's gonna have a sort of a cool little element to it that hasn't really been done before, which is real hard to do these days. So, because
I knew there was going to be an element, and I'm like, what could it possibly be? And then it was announced, and I'm like, one, that's brilliant. Two, how has that not been done before? How have I not heard of that before? Because it seems so obvious in retrospect, but I don't think anybody's done that.
Yeah, it's such an easy. It's the best ideas are the easiest ideas, but like it's so simple. It's it's just an automated thing that you set in motion,
right.
And there's been so many movies that have like 3D movies or smell-o-vision where you scratch and sniff things that are happening in the movies and all those little things, and just using technology in a different sort of way. And I'm not going to say that Dave and Matt are geniuses, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'll say they're pretty cool.
Yeah, because they mentioned that on the Blu-ray, there's a special feature of the full script that they wanted to do, but like you mentioned, the actual in practice, it's going to be a little bit more stripped down. And I have to wonder, of course, like how long that will be live for. I can't imagine 10 years from now that phone number will work, but I guess we'll find out.
Well, if this planet is still around in 10 years, then maybe it will. But I don't have very high hopes at this point. But I'm just like, gather you rosebuds while you may, have a good time as right now as much as you can, because it don't look good for us humans here on this planet. But anyway, I don't want to bring the podcast down too much.
Nick, I know I only asked you for 30 minutes. Are you okay to keep going for a little bit so I can?
Yeah, sure. I don't want to talk to my kids.
Well, actually, I was gonna have you bring them in. I want to ask them about Aquatine, if that's okay.
Sure. I don't think. Yeah, they're so funny because they would come in as I'm editing and like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing Aquatine." It's like, let me see. So I would show them a little bit of it, and then of course there'd be some. Not that they haven't heard every dirty word by their dear old dad already,
right?
But when someone else says it, you feel weird. It's like, oh, you shouldn't be listening to this,
right?
Yeah, and then I'm like, why am I saying that? You've heard, all these words, and you've said them. I don't need to really worry about it. But yeah, they've seen some of what Daddy does, and they're fine with it. I don't think they like it. So,
well, your kids are pretty young though. Still, like, well, I don't know. I guess I was around. Because your daughter is older, right? I take it from your podcast.
Yeah, my daughter's 10, and my son, they're a year and a half apart. So my son's 9, and my daughter is 10, and she'll be 11 in December. So
okay, well, I take it back then because I was 10 when I got into Aquatine, so I think it's about time that
there you go.
you start hooking her up.
To break that seal. Yeah, but you were doing it. Your parents didn't know. I'm assuming you were watching it.
No. My parents would have Adult Swim on. This was early 2000s before it was like too crazy. They were still probably not appropriate for a 10 or 11-year-old, but it wasn't like. It became later on with like a lot of like violence and sexual elements and stuff. But a lot of those early Aquatine episodes are actually rated PG. So I think we kind of forget about that, considering where the show went. But so you were in this Moonanite AquaDonk side piece. Do you have any favorite Moonanite moments? Are the Moonanites your favorite characters? What do they mean to you? As I assume you were a fan of the show before you started working on it.
Oh yeah, I was a huge fan of the show. When I was working at I'm not going to delve too much into this, but I worked on Jimmy Neutron way back in the day, and that's about the time the Aquatine was coming out. What I would do is record the episode onto a VHS tape Sunday night, and I would bring it into the office, and me and my buddy Jake Patton, he was another editor, would watch them at lunch together, and then we would just quote it incessantly for the weeks and weeks. Mm-hmm. And we would take them and like edit together sound bites and make phone messages, and just like, we were obsessed with the show, and because it was unlike anything, and we just got it. It was on our wavelength. And so, fast forward to now, or I guess 11 years ago, because I've been working on the show for about 11 years now. God damn, I'm old. And it was like, I don't know, it was, I want to say a dream come true, because I was a huge fan of the show. And there were times when I kind of couldn't believe I was working on the show. Like, I was like, is this is this real? What was that? There's a viral video where it's like, is this real life?
Oh, yeah.
But that's what it just felt like for me. I felt like I was on Novocaine every day going into work. I was just like, am I really doing this? But yeah, it was insane to work on a show that you were a huge fan of, and basically changed the landscape of television. It changed the landscape of comedy and television. I don't know if people give it enough credit, because it really did change a lot of things, and it changed the way TV was sort of made, and what they thought TV comedy, animated comedy could be. So yeah, it's a pretty huge influencer.
And not just TV, but also influencing, YouTube videos to come, or like animation on YouTube, because, Adult Swim was kind of a precursor to that. I feel maybe even more than television itself.
Yeah. Adult Swim definitely was it's so funny because so many people have tried to emulate Adult Swim and failed miserably. Like, I think Fox has tried it like 3 or 4 times, and it just never really worked. And they were even using Adult Swim people to make it, and it just wasn't. It just didn't ever fly, and it's just I don't know what it is, because I worked. I don't think I'm speaking out of school, but I work in the building, and there's no reason on paper. There's no reason any of this should work. There's no reason this building should be there. There's no reason this guy should be able to get away with doing this, or the way we do things should even work. But it just does, and it always sort of just has. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what that magic sort of formula is. But I'm glad they bottled it and ship it out of that little building.
Yeah.
To everybody.
And now out of your homes to everybody.
Yes, exactly. It turns out we don't need the building. It's not Willy Wonka's factory. It's our houses.
Yes.
Apparently.
So before we move on kind of from this AquaDonk side piece, do you have any thoughts on this specific episode? I know we didn't really touch on much, but also it's only 2 minutes long, so there's not a ton to touch on. Is there anything that you want to mention about the Moonmaster 9 video that we haven't really touched on yet?
Dave and Matt and all of the Adult Swim writers tend to write way too much. Mm-hmm. They're told like they're going to be 2 minutes long, and they'll write like a 6-page script, which is 6 minutes long.
Right.
And so the original cut of this was about 3 or 4 minutes, and I think they were told at one point that it could be between 4 and 5 minutes, but then that was taken back, and they were like, no, it needs to be this certain length. So we had to cut a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of fun, silly things that happened in it that had to get cut for time. Those things I can't recall right now. I finished the edit of those a long time. Like when did they air?
April of this year. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was 3 or 4 months prior to that was when I was finished with it. So it's been that long since I should have at least watched it before we did this, but I couldn't even be bothered to take 2 minutes out of my time for you to watch.
It's all right.
That. I do apologize.
It's all right. In that short, we like Samuel of the Cosmos kind of scrolls through some other characters that you can't play as, and they have stat pages. I thought it might be fun to build a DLC character of Nick Gibbons. If we can make a DLC fighter really quickly, I'll go through all the stats, and you tell me what you think the stats would be for you on this specific day.
Love it.
So on a scale of 0 to 100, what is your strength?
Strength would be a good. I'm very stocky, and I come from a good muscle family. My mom and dad have great muscular features. So I'm gonna say a good 72% strength.
Excellent. On a scale of 0 to 100, what is your stamina?
These days,
yes. Right now,
I'm gonna say a good 29% stamina.
Hey, that's still better than the Moonanites, man. You can't be too down on yourself.
0.
What is your weapon?
Oh man, let me think. Is a quip, is a lightning flash retort? Would that be considered a weapon of some sort? My tongue.
We'll save that because there are things that I would apply to. I think this has to be something physical based on the other weapons. Okay,
I'm trying to think I'm gonna say I can throw an iPhone at you real quick. So iPhone. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. I love it. So your agility, are you slow, moderate, or fast?
Slow.
All right. You got good strength. So if you were fast, it'd be OP. So that's all right. What is your power?
Can I get an example of what a power would be? Like, is it superpower? Like,
so Captain II, who was like a character with a big eyeball, his power was Death Stare.
Okay. Mine is hold on, let me think. Mine is Fortnite. Mine's Fortnite. I can play Fortnite for hours and hours, and I would play it. It's horrible, and I need help. But I would, if given the chance, if everything on Earth were to disappear and all that was left was Fortnite, I would, which means there would have to at least be 100 other people around. I'm not going to go look for those people. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play Fortnite for the rest of eternity, for all the minutes left. So that's my power, is Fortnite agility ability.
That makes sense why you didn't take the 2 minutes to watch this short then. You were probably finishing up a Fortnite match, so I can understand.
Exactly. Well, hey, it's Fort Nightmares is going on right now. There's lots of zombies in there. There's werewolf shit going on. Got to check that out.
So then last but not least is your talent. Would that be your lightning fast quip?
There we go. That's it. My talent is I can talk for hours about nothing by myself, not to anyone else, but just keep talking. And it's not a good power, or it's not a good,
but it's a power.
It is power. Yeah. I have the power of the mouth.
Were you responsible for coming up with these other little monsters that are showcased really quickly, or was that somebody else?
I did. I came up with those, and I came up with their abilities. I think maybe there was like 6 or 7 of them, but they got cut down for time. There were a lot of pretty funny ones. I think that got cut, but I come up with their stats and stuff, and I think they might have gotten tweaked. I think the directors might have tweaked them a little bit, but they're pretty much what I had said. I knew that I wanted to give the Moonanites just nothing. That was my sort of like visual gag. I just wanted to give them no abilities at all.
Before we delve into a couple of the other things you've done involving streamers, I want to mention to you really quickly, because I know you play on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation, correct?
Yes.
There is a fan game that somebody made recently called Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the very unofficial game.
Oh, yeah?
And I was blown away. It's actually really good. So have you heard of Dreams on PlayStation?
Yes, I have.
So it's on. You have to have Dreams, but if you have Dreams, then you can download this game for free. It's like playing in an episode. It's so good. I'll send you the trailer for it at least.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like when I went to play it, I was like, oh, what is this, mini games or something? But it's like a full episode. It's crazy. So I'll send that your way. I'm sure you would appreciate it since I know you play video games.
Totally.
So moving on. And of course, the reason I thought that maybe you were more behind this short than you ended up being was because of your work doing other things, spoofing streamers. Most notably, Final Deployment 4, which came out in 2018. You and Casper Kelly worked on that. And before we get into that, I just want to tell you some personal information really quickly, is that over the summer, just unexpectedly out of nowhere, my mom passed away, just like out of the blue.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. Of course, that is devastating, but what made it worse was it was 2 weeks before my wedding.
Oh, man.
So, it was just, I know. Yeah, it was just a horrible time. And the one thing I reached for that very first day to like get a moment of just not being, distraught was Final Deployment 4. I didn't reach for Aqua Teen. I didn't reach for anything. I knew that video would make me laugh, and it did. It gave me like however many minutes, 18 minutes or whatever, of just happiness for a little bit. So I want to say thank you, for that video and for everything you guys do, because it does make a difference on people's lives. And I just wanted to let you know like how much that video means to me.
Oh, thank you so much. That hit me right in the heart spot. The thing about creating stuff like this that you don't realize is that people watch it, and it does affect people, and you never really think about that because you're not talking to everybody. And as far as we know, I made this and no one saw it. It's like we live in such a bubble. But yeah, that means a lot to me. And I'm so happy that it could help you in that time. And
so for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's just I don't even know how to describe it. It's so crazy, like in the best way possible. And really, so you have John Mangan in that video, who is your co-host on your podcast Goat Dads, which is great for me to see because I love that podcast. So it's cool to see John in there. First of all, I would appreciate it if you put John on more of your projects. I know that's not really your.
I'm sure he would appreciate that too.
But yeah, he kills it. Basically, he is playing through this fake game that you guys made for the short called Final Deployment 4, and it's about this space marine who comes back to Earth after the war is over, and he has to reacclimate to life.
Yes.
But then it just gets it gets so meta, because then it turns out a streamer is streaming John, like he himself is like a video game kind of, and it just kind of builds up from there in just like this absolutely insane way. And there's just like so many different parts to it. And I'll put a link to this in the show notes. Anybody who hasn't seen this needs to watch it. But if you could kind of tell me, I don't have like many specific questions about this, but if you can kind of tell me like how that came together, how that came to be.
Yeah. I got the chance to do a 4 a.m. thing, which was it's a thing that Adult Swim used to do, where it's just a very bizarre, like, sort of one-off episode. And I'd written this thing. It was a reality show. This is so stupid. The original thing I was going to do, and Casper Kelly, God bless him, he went to bat for me and went to Lazo and said, "You should give him a chance to do this. I really think it's a funny idea." And he said, "Yeah, if you're vouching for him, that's fine." And the original idea, which you're going to think is ridiculous, was a reality show like The Bachelor, but it was for adopting children. So there were a bunch of children they're vying for adoption. And like, instead of a rose ceremony, it was an ice cream ceremony. And the one that didn't get picked would be handed an ice cream, but then they would turn it upside down and the ice cream would drop on the floor. So that was the original thing. And
to anyone listening, this is so far away from what it ends up being. This is like nothing at all.
So what happened was I wrote that, and Chris, as a sentence, I don't know, for being sentenced to this thing, Mike was like, "Well, you got to be a producer on it if it's going to go." So he was a producer on it, and Chris wasn't feeling the script. He didn't like it 100%. He didn't like the ending of it or something. So he was like, "Well, let's work together let's do something together." Because I don't think he wanted to be a producer on it. He just wanted to, because he's not really, that wasn't really in his wheelhouse. He wanted to sort of be a creator. So we sat down, we went to an Indian restaurant, Indian buffet, and sat down, and we came up with the idea for Final Deployment together. And we were like, okay, what if we pulled back and it's some guy controlling this guy. We pulled back again, and we're like, well, that's going to get old and predictable. So then we're like, okay, we got to push in. So that's, that was one of the epiphanies of it, where it's like, okay, we're pulling out and then we're going to go into it. So it's like, and then I think we were like, it should be a circle. It should be like a donut going in, folding in on itself. That was hard to make sense. Like, that was the hardest part of it, was trying to make that make sense. But I think we pulled it off. But it was supposed to be 12 minutes, which is the running time, or 11 minutes, which is the running time of all the Adult Swim shows. But we wrote this like 30 minute episode, and when we went in and said, "Can we do it for 30 minutes?" And they were like, "Okay." So that's how it became longer. And I think inevitably that may have hurt us in the long run, because like it's longer than stuff like Too Many Cooks and all those things, which have the sort of the blessing of being short enough but not too long. And I watch it. I still will go back and watch it, and I'm never not like engaged watching it.
There's just so much to always pick up on. Like, every time you watch it, there's always something new.
Yeah, but it's like, the funniest thing to me is it'll get the most comments on it on YouTube are, "Why does this not have more views?" Which I agree with. I'm like, yeah, 100%. Why does this not have more views? It's really good. But it's the thing I'm most proud of everything I've done. I've done a lot of, I will say shit, because a lot of it is real shitty, but I really love this thing. And it's, John, we had auditioned. John was my friend at the time. He was a fellow improviser here in Atlanta, and we did improv together and stuff. And he auditioned for it, and he won it out. And to his credit, I'm an improver. I'm not an actor per se. Like, memorizing lines seems like an impossible task on some level to me. But that motherfucker came in, and he had a lot of lines to do, and he had that shit down. And to his credit, I was blown away. I was like, I can't believe you had all that stuff down. And he rattled it off, and we got the shot. We had not a lot of budget, not a lot of time, but I'm really proud with what we pulled off, considering all the restraints that we kind of had with it. So
what I like about it is that you guys clearly play, like you and I assume Casper as well, you guys play video games, because there's a lot of real references that like only gamers would get, but at the same time you're also making fun of like streaming and that whole kind of aspect of it. So it's like you love it, but you hate it at the same time, like you guys. So that makes it more interesting for me to watch because, you know, like specifically at the beginning, there's a part where it's like, yeah, if you jump into the wall here, you can get in and they can't hurt you anymore. Like that's such a real thing that you could find in walkthroughs for a bunch of games. And just one of my favorite moments is just every time John says G-nade, I don't know why, it just cracks me up. He's like kind of cocky about it too when he's saying, I don't know, it's just the funniest thing to me.
And I can't remember. I don't know if he came up, if he pulled that out or if that was in the script. He may have like came up with that. So yeah,
I was actually going to ask, and I was like, oh, this is like a dumb question, but I'm like, was that in the script or did he make that up? Because that's just like the funniest.
I think he may have made it up. Like we did so many takes. I think he was just like being cockier with it as we went on and did more takes or more shots of it or whatever. But yeah, that may have been a Johnism, honestly.
Moving on, is it okay if we talk about ThundaClap? Because that video is unlisted on your channel. I don't know if you don't want it to be talked about or
No, yeah, that's fine. We can't talk about that. I put it up there, and I took it down, and he'll never see this, but I was applying for different jobs, and Mr. Beast had a job for an editor, and I was like, I'm gonna apply for this editor job with Mr. Beast because my kids love Mr. Beast, and I'm like, oh shit, if he does any deep dive on this and finds this shit talking thing about what I did, which I think it's really funny, but I'm just like, maybe this will, but I think I'm gonna relist it because I haven't heard from Mr. Beast, so yeah, it may go. By the time this airs, I'll put it back up so people can see it.
Okay, because I was going to ask, I'm like, is it all right with you if I put the link in the show notes for this so people can watch it if they want to? I didn't know what your stance on that was.
Yeah, totally,
okay.
Totally.
Mr. Beast does listen to my podcast, though, so, I hope that's all right.
Oh, no.
No,
it's fine. It's fine. I love that guy. I really do. My kids love him, too. And he wasn't the one. There's others that I was sort of aiming towards with that one, but yeah. But I guess he's in the zeitgeist of YouTubers, so he's sort of one of the godfathers of that whole genre.
The synopsis on that one for listeners is you're spoofing a streamer very similar to the Moonmaster 9 video, and it's a really short video, and you're basically saying how how stupid watching streamers is, and so yeah, that's the gist of it. And there's a part when you go on this almost existential rant about how your character is, like he didn't even graduate high school and all this stuff, and like he seems like he's actually depressed ultimately. And while that's happening, it pops up on the screen like buy merch and all this stuff, like the funniest thing. I feel like something set you off. Like was there an event that really prompted you to make that? Like is your kid are your kids watching those kinds of videos, and that's where you're seeing this?
Yes. That's exactly what did it. My kids watch these videos incessantly like that. How we used to watch cartoons as kids on TV, like over and over again all the time. That's what my kids are doing now with these YouTuber guys. And I do watch. There's a couple I do watch, and it helps me fall asleep at night to watch these guys play video games. But the ones that my kids watch, I'm just like, what the fuck? What is this? I mean, there's this one dude that just plays these like phone games. They're just these games you play on your phone where you're jumping over a bunch of things over and over again. And I'm just like, why are you watching this? How does this guy have this many views? Because I get mad, and this is just sour grapes. All this from here. From this point on, it's just me being bitter and angry about the world. So buckle in, kids. But I will spend, days writing a script, shooting something, editing it to where it's like, this is the funniest version of this. It takes me a while to put a video up. I can't just sit down and play a goddamn Angry Birds for an hour and then get 1 million views. All those things together were where that video came from. It came from an honest place, but at the same time, I don't want to I'm not shitting on those guys. They've been doing it for years. They're not overnight successes by any, and my wife keeps telling me this, and I need to listen to her because she's smart, but she's like, they've been doing this for 10 years. Like they weren't just instantly famous playing a video game. They worked hard, and they do it and it's their livelihood, and it's and she's right, but it's real easy not to see that when you're making content stuff. So anyway, that's where that came from.
So yeah, that's ThundaClap, your video, which again is hilarious. Much shorter than Final Deployment 4. Jumping back to AquaDonk Side Pieces as a whole really quickly, did you guys run into any issues with the assets you were working with after the show being off the air for so long? Like, did you have to like reformat anything, or like was stuff broken when you tried to load it back in? What was going on?
No, because it was all. It's just the best thing about that is it was just all artwork. So the artwork was all there. We still had it. We just pulled in the artwork and just puppeteered all the guys around in the thing. They did with the movie, and maybe with the shorts too. They had to redo all the assets and make them, higher res, and this happens every couple of years. You have to up res everything, and so I think it was more on their end, like for the feature, and for whoever did the final animation on the shorts. That was more for them, but we were fine. We just because they use our animatics as like like storyboards. Basically, they look at what we did and they copy it with their animations. But it's on their end that they have to make it actually bigger and the right aspect ratio and stuff.
Right.
For everything. So we didn't have any problems.
Gotcha. So, okay. Did you have a favorite AquaDonk side piece to work on?
Yes, I think I liked the sandwich one the best.
Oh yeah, the brood wrap. Yeah,
brood wrap. Yes, I think I had the most fun working on that one because I went nuts on the visuals on that one. And the stuff like we're very limited on the animation, obviously, for the show. It's a very limited animated show, and so I love finding ways to cheat things and make them look bigger than they are. And one of the things I did that I'm super proud of that I was able to pull off in my version, because we work in layers and stuff, is when they're in the car and he loses control of the car at one point and the car goes back and forth and I shifted that around. I was like, oh, this is cool. Hopefully they'll be, and they did. That's the thing is like we make these animatics and the directors fall in love with the animatics and they're like, make it exactly like, don't,
Mm-hmm.
But the animators will add things to it as it comes along. But they're like, pretty much, this is the blueprint. This is what we like. Do it like this.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to replicate everything that I had done. And so I was proud of some of the stuff in that one that I did visually. And they, the animators are always plus the visuals. So yeah, that was a fun one to work on for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah. That one is like, that one I think really needed to be longer because even without the brood wrap, there could just be a whole episode about Carl driving for DoorDash that I think would just be hilarious. Yes. So it's like, I wish this was longer. Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about in this realm that we didn't touch on yet?
I don't know. I the movie's coming out. That's cool. I'm not sure when this will drop, as the kids say. But
this will come out in 3 years. So
okay, good. That's fine. Yeah. Then this will be old news. But the Your Pretty Face animated shorts are coming out. I think this Friday.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Tomorrow, maybe.
Oh, damn! I didn't know that.
So you may be hearing it first.
Yeah, possibly.
I think it's tomorrow. I think one of them. I don't know how they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's all at once or just one and then another one. But
right.
I think either the first one or all of them. Who knows?
Oh, I didn't know that they were even close to done yet. I didn't know that they were coming up potentially tomorrow. That's awesome. Yeah.
So the YPF shorts are going to be on the YouTube, I guess, for you to enjoy. And they turned out great. It's a lot of fun. It's fun to be back in that world. And hopefully, I would love that to lead to a animated series, because that's the best cast of all time. They love it, and they're willing to do anything. But I know that the makeup just really it's a bitch for them all. But I think an animated series is a sweet spot for that, because you can do so much crazy stuff, and they do a lot of crazy stuff. with it. But yeah, it's they're coming out, so watch that. That's all I have really.
Is there anything new in your personal life in the works because you do make your own videos? Is there anything that you're working on now that you'd like to mention?
I might be making a video with me and you know who Puddles the clown is? Puddles Pity Party.
Yeah.
He's a friend of mine. He doesn't talk much, but we have a shorthand with language. He doesn't talk at all, really, but I know what he's saying. We're working on some stuff, and I may be shooting like a fake commercial. I think we're trying to do some fake commercials. And I tweeted something. I'm not going to tell you what it was, but I tweeted something, or not. I think maybe on Facebook or Instagram. Facebook and Instagram something today, and he was like, "Let's make that a video." He called me and he was like, he didn't say it because he can't talk, but I can know. He's like, "Let's make that into a video." So I might be doing some stuff with him soon. But yeah, that's all I really have on my plate at the moment. Yeah, pretty free and clear. If anyone wants to hire me, I'll work for you.
Actually, I was hoping you would edit this podcast for me. So
sure, no problem. I love it. I love it. There's nothing I love better than editing. I edit our Goat Dads podcast, and oh my god, it's a laborious task. But it makes us seem smart because I take out all the pauses and all the
what was that? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just two quick Aqua Teen things. I don't know. I've never really heard you guys talk about this, but I know that you worked on the episode Shake Like Me, and it was removed from like streaming packages and everything. I was wondering,
yes.
What are your thoughts on that? Because obviously I know you guys aren't like racist or anything like that. Wasn't your intention, but if I don't know if you have any thoughts on that being removed.
Yeah. I think it was the right move to do. It's just like anything. Hopefully this is my dream for all humans, is that as you get older, you learn, you change, and you grow, and you realize mistakes that you've made in the past. And I think that was just a thing where they're like, you know what, that was a little tone deaf. Maybe we should not include that. And I think it was the right
Mm-hmm.
decision to make. But that's the thing about humanity is like, if you can't look at your past and say, oh, I fucked up there, and learn from that and say, I'm not going to do that again, because now that I'm older and a little bit more wiser, I see why that was bad.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't happening a lot with people these days, and it upsets me to no end. But I mean, that's all I hope for with anyone in their life, is that they can learn as they get older, and change and evolve and become a better person. And I think that's where I'll leave that.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's what that was. Yeah.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I just want to say congratulations on, of course, this box set, which is lacking Shake Like Me, which a lot of people were upset about. But a lot of your work, it seemed like as you were climbing the Aqua Teen ladder, a lot of your work was in later seasons, like at the higher levels. And those just came out now on DVD for the first time on this box set. So congratulations that your work, finally, all your hard work on like the last season of the show is out on DVD and physical media. I think that's very cool.
I'm glad that you showed it to me, because I haven't seen that yet. So
yeah, it's a thick son of a bitch. It's 20 discs, 20 DVDs. I have all the original DVDs too, but it's cool now to finally have the final few seasons on DVD. But I was bummed there was no new special features on these, which was to be expected. But
yeah,
I was hoping there would have been something new, but unfortunately that wasn't the case.
I think you're going to be over the moon then when the movie comes out, because there's a shit ton of stuff.
Oh, that's good to hear. I'm excited for that.
On the DVD for the movie. So yeah, definitely buy the movie, buy the Blu-ray of the movie. That's the way to go.
You heard the man. That's the way to go. Buy the Blu-ray, and if you haven't yet, you can pre-order it via the link in the show notes of this podcast episode, and Amazon kicks a little money back my way to support the podcast. So, hey, that's an option, but there it is. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Nick. To tell you the truth, I was just laughing a ton while editing it. Nick's just the funniest guy, and I definitely want to have him back on the podcast in the future to do more of like an in-depth kind of conversation about his career as a whole, similar to what I did with Jay a few weeks ago. Again, you can find Nick on Twitter at Nick Gibbons and on Instagram at Nick Gibbons. Check the show notes for just all the links listed, all the media listed. You could find everything there. And of course, don't forget, subscribe to his podcast, Goat Dads. You won't regret it. I listen every single week, and I love it. So that's it for me this week. Thank you, of course, to Nick for being so generous with his time. And thank you to all the Moonmasters who support this podcast. Shout out to our #1 in the Hood G tier patrons, Sean, Ian, Captain Buford, Brian, Robinson, Carl, and Reverend Raven 46. You guys can tell me how much you love Last of Us 2 any day of the week. I'll see you next week when we dive into the AquaDonk Side Piece Moonmaster 9, Beware the Gorgotron. Bye-bye.
Dancing is forbidden. Dancing is forbidden.
If I could have took a dump on that disc after I played it and resold it to somebody for twice as much, I would have done that gladly.